Hello everyone, we're Team Wootzor. I'm Sean Sparks.
And I'm Mikey Gross.
Today we're going to be talking about Dicetown. It's a game by Mataget. I guess it's part of their family collection, at least that's what it says on the box here. It's for 2 to 5 players, and it is for 30 to 45 minutes, I believe, in length. And I'll start, and let me just say the first thing I really enjoy about this game is it's fast. The time here says 30 to 45 minutes, and I think that's perfect. You're probably going to be at the higher end of that with more players, but it's going to play quick either way. It's fun. It is generally, I really do think this is a game the whole family can play. It probably requires you to have a little knowledge of how to play poker.
Yeah, definitely knowing the poker hands and the poker rankings.
Yeah. I mean, but you don't have to. It's not that big of a deal. The game shows you what's a good hand and what's not. Of course, you're using dice instead of cards to create a hand. The components for such a simple, easy game, I think, are outstanding. One, I like the little plastic nuggets. They look like little chunks of gold. That's really, really cool. And the money in this game, they're little tiny dollar bills, but they're made of like a vinyl.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
They were.
Yeah, and they really felt good. I've seen a lot of games use the paper money. I don't generally like that, but hey, what it is what it is. But this game here uses a cool thing for money. There's also a mechanic in this game where it's called the Dock Bad Luck, where if you don't get anything moving through the different areas where you can get stuff with your cards you play or whatever, everyone gets something no matter what. And Dock Bad Luck is actually pretty good. Now I can tell you in a 2-player game, it's not going to come into play, maybe even in a 3-player.
Right.
But 4 and 5, and I want to say, even though we haven't tried a 4 or 5-player game, I think that's the sweet spot for this game.
Yeah.
I think the more players, you're going to limit what you can get access to, and Dock Bad Luck is going to come into play. Yeah. I also, one of the things that's kind of neat about this is you can see what your opponent is playing, is trying to accomplish. As you're rolling and saving dice and rolling and saving dice, you're looking over thinking, hey, what is my opponent trying to accomplish here? If he's the sheriff, which breaks the ties, is it futile for me to keep going after that? So that's a nice mechanic. There's not a whole lot of strategy to it. I mean, the dice kind of dictate what you do to an extent. I mean, you got to know what you're playing. But overall, I like this type of game. It reminds me a lot of Kingsburg, where you're rolling dice and assigning it to certain areas in a way. It's a little different than Kingsburg, but it's fast, it's fun, it's for families. I recommend you play it at 4 to 5 players. So I'm going to give this game a high score of 8 out of 10 because I would play it just about any time.
Okay. I mean, I liked the game. Had a good time. Obviously, the core mechanic of the game is you get your dice, you roll them, you look at them in a liar's dice kind of fashion, where you're just kind of looking at them, keeping 1, keeping 2. The more dice you keep, the more you pay. So the strategy there in rolling dice is you could keep all of your dice the first roll. You're paying $4 extra though, but that forces everyone else playing the game that their turn, they don't get any more turns after the next turn to roll. So if you keep all 5 of your dice in the first roll, everyone else has to keep the rest of their dice in the second roll. So you can be, if you want a big gun early, you pay the extra money, force everyone else kind of into suboptimal things. If you got like a full house of dice, your dice have 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace on them, all 6 sides. The 9s will let you get nuggets, 10s will let you rob the bank. The Jacks will let you go to the general store and buy something. Queens will let you draw cards from someone's hand.
Steal, basically.
Yep. The King will let you become the sheriff. And Aces only affect if you're going out prospecting for land.
Yeah.
So what you're doing, though, is the sheriff will break all ties. If you roll 2 9s and I roll 2 9s, if I'm the sheriff, I'll win the tie. Because only one person can go to each spot.
Right.
So the strategy is while you're rolling the dice, you're picking what you want to do. You're kind of seeing what other people are doing, paying attention to what the sheriff's doing because he'll get preference. The problem with the sheriff is, obviously, the youngest player becomes the sheriff first. And if it's a smart sheriff player, there's a chance they may not give it up the whole game, which means they're just dominating the ties. And they could be purposely going for ties to prevent people from
but you're going to be
this.
dedicating a certain number of dice to do that. every
Correct.
round. So you're probably not
Yeah.
scoring as many points as you would like.
Yeah. Now, I like when you're prospecting for land, it's you take your dice, compare it to a poker hand. So let's say you had a full house of 3 aces and 2 jacks. You compare to everyone else's poker hands with their dice, and whoever has the best can win things from the prospect. Obviously, Captain Bad Luck or Dr. Bad Luck didn't come into play in our 2-player game. But, I mean, 4 or 5 players, it could get crazy. Somebody could be going there every turn, locking in points, just staying out of trouble. This is one of those games where your strategy is dictated by luck. And it can be if you hate dice, then it's not that you hate dice, it's the luck generated by a dice game. You don't like that kind of game. This might be a little frustrating for you.
Oh yeah,
because you're combining card hands, dice, player strategy, numbers, kind of falls all into that. To be honest, I think the best strategy for a 2-player game, and this didn't really occur, but if you're playing a 2-player game, I would go for nuggets. Just pile all the nuggets, because once all the nuggets are gone, the game's over.
yeah.
So before your opponent has a chance to get a lot of other victory points, you get nuggets. Because nuggets are the only thing that can't be stolen.
Yes, true.
So any other cards in your hand can be stolen. Nuggets are permanent victory points.
Yeah. And if you were playing 5 9s, if you could
Yeah.
get that, it would be hard to get that. But if
Yeah.
you probably get 3 or 4 possibly, you're going to pull the nuggets out quick.
Yeah, and you possibly could pull the victory points too.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, really, that's how I feel. It plays very well, plays very fast. It'll be fun. Obviously, it's a dice game, and it's you got to know poker a little bit,
Yeah.
and you got to be playing with people that you like. I don't know so much if you could play this with strangers at a convention, because the whole stealing mechanic, strangers could feel picked on very quickly. If you're like, I'm going to take one from you. What?
That's true.
Yeah.
I think in a fair game, you're going to try to pick on the guy who has the biggest hand.
Right. The guy who's obviously heading
We've all
first.
we've all played with that person who
Right.
just wants to pick on people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll give this game a 7 out of 10. It's a good rating for me. So it's fun. I'll play it again. I wouldn't buy it, but I know someone who owns it, so I'll play it anytime he wants to take it off the shelf.
Yeah. 2 things I just want to pick up on. I love the comment you made about the luck determines the strategy.
Yes.
That's a neat way to put it, I guess. So another thing I want to say, and you didn't see it if you watched, somewhere there will be a link directing you to the 2-player game that we show. But something I want to say, in a 3, but even more so in a 4 and 5-player game, the sheriff is a lot bigger deal, because you get to determine the ties. You might not even be involved in that particular area. You're picking amongst the other people who wins. So there you can also play favorites.
Okay.
So there's a little bit. There's a lot of playing favoritism if you were playing with those types of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, the sheriff always breaks the ties in any situation. In a 5-player game, I think that'd be a lot neater.
Yeah.
If you were playing with the right people.
Right. Obviously, if you're playing with a person who understands the strategy of, making sure the highest person doesn't get any higher.
Exactly.
Sometimes, though, your friends may just be, I'm just going to be picking on Mikey the whole game.
Yeah.
Every turn, just keep beating you down, Mikey.
Nobody does that, do they?
No.
Yes, they do. But we both enjoyed the game. We're a little bit different on our rating, but we both liked it. So that's it. We hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time with Team Wootzor.